Overkill, that's right, coming at you. This is Horns Up. Means you're in the right place.
We're in Hell's Kitchen, New York City, right outside Stage 48, of course, with Bobby from Overkill. Welcome back home, man, because you've been on the road with KREATOR. It's the last show of the tour. So how do you feel to be back home, man, after... you were telling me that it's been a pretty amazing run?
Good to see you, first and foremost. Good to be close to home. Good to see you guys. Yeah, 28 days, I think. So usually we're somewhere around 3 weeks that we tour, but this has been a little bit longer for us. The thing that I'm kind of sorry to see it go because we really get along with these guys in KREATOR. We think the package is great at this level. The places have been full. I mean, 2 nights in New York is fantastic. We decided to do here instead of the Best Buy because it would accommodate more people over a 2-night period. So this was the idea behind it. So I'm thinking now, as this is the last day, sorry to see it go, but it's still a great success up to this point.
And do you get to go home after the show tonight?
Absolutely, man.
And what is the first thing you're going to do when you get home?
I'm going to pet the dog.
Which breed of dog?
I've already kissed the wife. She's on the bus with me.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have German Shepherd. I've always had purebred Shepherds since I was, I guess, an adult and had my own place to keep them, like, property and house. So this is my third, and she is now 6, 90 pounds, understands 2 languages, and she was what's called soft hand trained. So she's never been spoken to with any kind of anger or aggression. So she can actually, when there is anger or aggression, her instincts get her to defend against it as opposed to making her defend against it. It's a really unique way of training a dog. So she's sweet as pie, but the other side of it is that she's still a German Shepherd and has that instinct. So it's really cool. Yeah, really cool.
That's pretty cool. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, training. You actually speak to the dog. You hold their hand and you tell them what they've done wrong, but you do it in a very calming kind of a voice. And shepherds are smart enough to understand that type of process for training. A little sidebar, an interest of mine.
And how would you say that correlates to running a band successfully for such a long time?
Oh, I was never soft hand trained. I was beaten into this. I think that running a band for as long as we have is I think you're in for life, or you think that you're in for life when you first start. And in our case, it was obviously the truth. This is something that's more than a career. It's quite obviously a life. Didi and I have known each other since 1981. And successfully have managed to write many songs or partake in many songs, just he and I, or with other writers. So I think that the idea is cooperation, trust, and then I think you put the other guy's well-being ahead of saying, hey, man, it's a band, it's metal, and you got to do it. You say, hey, man, is everything cool? Then everything after that kind of works out. I think that's the easiest way. So maybe it is kind of soft-handed.
I mean, it's a family, man. You gotta make sure everybody's well fed. Not only you think to be able to have a band successful for a long time, you can't put yourself first all the time, but you also gotta know, the balance. In other words,
you can't spell team without M-E. I think you're right, and it's if we have a good lineup out here, and Dave's been in the band now for over a 13-year period. He's the longest standing guitar player ever in Overkill. Derek's been around for 10 years. Ron is now on his 7th year, 8th year. I think the idea is that there's a good lineup. It's good guys who want to get out and do heavy stuff, heavy music. And I think that if you have that chemistry on the front end, that when you get on the stage to do that touring or in the studio to do that writing, that things just kind of work out because there's not a lot of bullshit that surrounds there's not a lot of who's first, who's second, who's more important. It's really about Overkill and us getting together and doing it by having a good time doing it.
And obviously, big news right now is that you're working on a new album. Everybody's extremely excited because when you release the Electric Age, I mean, for us it was the record of the year. a lot of metal fans were like, oh my God, that band still has it. Obviously, you're writing music right now. Why don't you tell us about the different aspects this time around, what you're writing around, what you guys are doing differently musically? Because obviously, Overkill has always been about evolving, but at the same time, maintaining true to their style.
Yeah, for a bunch of it is right in the table behind you over there. I'm finishing it on the road, so it's, the way it's always hard for me to get a feel for the record while I'm writing it, because it really becomes kind of a collection of chaos, and you're trying to unravel that chaos and figure out what you're going to do and where you're going to make your mark or your imprint on it. What I'm getting out of it is that it's a riff-oriented record. It leans more in a heavy metal direction, in my opinion, than the last record did, but not without its blasts and explosions and nuances. I think there's just more dimension to this record than the Electric Age. That would be more of my initial take on it. It's not an Overkill record. It's an Overkill record. And we work in a box. You know what I'm saying? We just try to expand that box every time. But I think the riffs that Dee Dee came up with on this record have more of a metal vibe. It's more of a guitar-laden record than what we did with the Electric Age. So let's see what happens. I might be right. I might be wrong. We'll find out in March.
Yeah, exactly. Things definitely change around, especially after you see the initial reaction of the public. And especially on the live setting, because I'm sure there are songs that you guys write for the studio, and some songs that work and some that don't work when you play them live. That's all part of the process.
But the whole thing... I've always been one to say, I don't want to repeat myself, but there's also a very fine line between that repetition and a style that you develop over many years. I mean, how many times have you used the word fire in there, or how many times have you used the word, power, for instance? So I think that, on this record, the hardest thing for me to do is to not repeat, to try to be looking at it as if it's fresh material, to try to look at it, sure I have experience, but try to look at it as if it's the first and the last thing that I'm ever going to write. And I think if you take that attitude into the writing, that you stand a really good chance of succeeding, because I do have experience. I will be able to get through writing the record. That's not the point, but if I put myself in the mindset of this could be the last one, but so I'm going to treat it like the first one, it's going to, I usually get successful results. Dude, I got to tell you, I'm just dying through this whole thing with Dee Dee's belt is like on your head.
Hey, it's Dee Dee's belt,
It's going to look awesome.
It's cool by me. It's Dee Dee.
We're in the laundry room right now in the back of the bus.
You're home away from home, man. And what are some of the rules that Overkill has on the bus and on tour? Maybe that's different from other bands. What are some of the things that people would be maybe surprised about?
Surprised about? I don't think there's really anything. You obviously respect other people's space. There's one great rule when it comes to, I think, most touring bands, and that's if you make it back to your bunk, you're safe. But don't fall asleep in the lounge drunk. You're going to wake up with different color skin, or your eyebrows will be gone, or somebody will tape something to you that's ridiculous that you can't get off for 4 days. But I think that's just the fun of it. One of the things I like doing is I like having separate departments on the bus. I mean, I really like the merch person to do the merch. I really like having a woman on the bus. And it's and not specifically for myself. And you're like, oh, really? Good for you. But I think that to some degree, when we're out here, that it just kind of keeps everything a little bit more like on an even keel, and the shows become more important than just partying on the bus. So we have, like, for instance, a girl who does our merch. In Europe, we have two girls, one who tour manages us, one who does our merch, and that always seems to keep us kind of on a little bit more in the straight and narrow and focused on the shows. So it smells way better when there's a couple girls on the bus.
Absolutely. And what do you bring on tour for? I mean, you were just saying that you're writing some of the parts here while you're on tour. What is some of the equipment that you bring with you? Well,
I bring a Tascam 8-track. It's kind of an old school thing I've been using now for, I guess, probably 8 years or so. I mean, it's MIDI, so I can go in and out of my computer, and I can hook my computer up directly to it. I like to do that. I bring a couple of microphones with me. I bring a Shure 58, which I use in the live performance, and one of the reasons is that you could build a house with these things. I mean, these fucking things, you could pound nails with them and they still sound like they did before you were hitting the nails with them, I mean, they're just a great durable microphone. But I use that here. I use different things when I'm in the studio at home or at Dee Dee's studio. What else do I bring? I bring books. I bring sweater because it's going to be cold, like today in New York. What else do I bring? Computer, stuff like that. Simplicity. Try to travel light.
Less is more. And I see that you're turning to the e-cigarette. I mean, why was that change? How did that come about? Because I know for some people it was a little weird of a transition, but has it worked for you?
I've been, I picked one up on October 23rd of a year ago. So this is my 14th month of not smoking tobacco. So it's that's quite a change for me. One of the great changes is that, you know, we're at the end of the tour and I can still have normal conversation. When I used to smoke, it would take about, you know, by this time I'd be, I could always do the shows for some reason, but the speaking voice would just be gone by this point. So that's really helped. It's given me more wind. You know, I went down a few times over the last year, and a lot of that was based on, like, lung issues, you know, with regard to, you know, bronchitis, or, I mean, I got pneumonia on the Testament tour. And I wasn't smoking at the time that I got that pneumonia, but point is I still got it. And since I've been using this, I have more wind, and I'm not cheating with Marlboros. So that's my take on it. I mean, I recommend it to anybody who's trying to quit smoking, but I don't recommend it to people who haven't started yet.
Absolutely, man. Good for you, and obviously because we want to not only see you do more records, you know, do more tours. But so importantly, to see you in good health is great for the entire metal scene because you're obviously one of those guys that everybody looks up to. So it's great to see you in such great spirits, and I'm glad that you're making the changes when you felt you need them to change it, so that way you can keep doing this. Because I think one of the most important things as a professional musician, especially after doing it for years, is that you got to find that balance so you can keep doing it.
It's true. I mean, and life changes, you know. I mean, we'd be fools to say we haven't gotten older and haven't changed. You know, I mean, it's just the way it is. That's life, you know. So as life deals its ups and downs, you have to make adjustments, and that's all this was an adjustment, and a lot less hard than I thought it was going to be. You know, I'm not an advocate or an anti anything. I think people should do whatever they want to do. You know, you want to do it, you go do it. If that's the thing that turns you on, whatever it may be, I'm not going to tell you it's wrong for you. It's just not. It's not my place. It's not my thing. But for myself, I got to make those decisions. I have to make those adjustments, and obviously this one has worked out pretty well. So I mean, this tour has been great. We did a European tour. We did a whole summer back and forth from Europe. We were in Scandinavia in April, and you know, not smoking was kind of new, but the other side of it was that I got great benefits out of it. So.
And what's in the agenda for the next 6 months to a year, apart from the record release, of course? That's the most important thing. But what else do you have lined up? Well,
you know, of course, the record, finish it, record it, mix it. We're going to Costa Rica in a couple weeks. That's going to be cool. It's our first time down there, down to San Jose. We're headlining a festival down there. Then we have the 70,000 Tons cruise, which all the wives and girlfriends love. We do 2 shows, and you're hanging out for 4 days. You know, so that's always kind of a cool little way to separate that New York cold winter by going down to the, you know, on the boat out of Miami. I think we're going to the Bahamas this year. Our next Euro tour starts a week after the drop of the record. We start at in Wales at a festival called Hammerfest, which we're headlining, and we're going to come through the UK and then drop down into Europe for March and April. And I mean, like I said earlier on, I mean, I love talking to the KREATOR guys. I mean, and because we're cut from the same cloth, and they would love to continue touring too. So we're going to see what their plans are. I mean, maybe do something in Europe with them because they're, you know, just a pleasure to be around. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, they want to go up there and kill, and we want to go up there and kill, and you want to beat the other one. I mean, it's not like you don't go up to lose. I mean, we're going up for competitive values here and competitive reasons. But I think that when the playing field's level, and both bands have an even chance at something like this, you know, we're both playing the same amount of time, you both have the same amount of lights. You both have the same production value when it comes to it, that it becomes really great competition because it's level, and that's really fun. You know, it's like 2 boxers going at it.
Hey, man, with that said, KREATOR are about to go on here at Stage 48. Bobby, I want to thank you very much, my
Joe,
brother.
it's a pleasure, Joe.
Have a great show today.
Right,
Safe travels. Happy holidays, man. I don't care what you celebrate. It's all about, you know, being with the family. So
celebrate this. Horns up, motherfucker.